Let's journey back in time, way back, to a place where healing wasn't something you found in a bottle, but in a simple, nightly ritual. We're about to uncover this amazing, kind of forgotten Persian practice for aching joints. It's really a story about how ancient wisdom can still touch our lives in a big way today.
So, our story kicks off right in the heart of ancient Persia. This was a time and place where knowledge wasn't just written down in books. No, it was passed on, from one generation to the next, from one hand to another, in the quiet little moments of daily life.
And right at the center of this tradition was a special ritual. It wasn't something you'd learn in a classroom, but something you'd pick up in the warmth of your own home. It was a gentle but really powerful answer to a problem that so many of us still deal with today, that nagging, persistent ache in our joints.
This ritual was for anyone whose joints just ached with every little movement. For those whose hands had gotten stiff or whose knees started to protest every time they took a step. It was basically a remedy for a body that felt like it had lost its natural flow.
The secret to this whole ancient practice? Well, it really comes down to two golden spices, saffron and turmeric. And to really get how powerful they are, we're going to follow the story of a man named Reza, who rediscovered this forgotten wisdom and, well, it completely changed his life.
So let's meet Reza. For half a century, his hands were his entire life story. He was a carpenter. They were his tools, his identity, his connection to everything. But as time went on, the very hands that had built so much for him, well, they started to betray him.
At first, it was just, a dull ache. But then, the swelling and stiffness started to set in, and it was always worse in the mornings. Pretty soon, he couldn't even grip his tools, and simple things like opening a jar became a real struggle. The work that had defined him was becoming impossible.
His doctor told him what he kind of already knew: arthritis. The medication he was prescribed gave him a little relief, sure, but it came with a price. He felt foggy all the time, had an upset stomach, and the pain, it never really truly went away.
So one evening, he's just sitting in his kitchen, his swollen hands resting on the table, and this memory from when he was a kid just pops into his head. He could see his grandmother, clear as day, and he remembered her simple little ritual she did every single night.
He remembered what she called her golden drink. It was made from these simple but really precious ingredients: just a few threads of saffron, a little pinch of turmeric, a cup of warm milk, and a bit of honey. A remedy that was as humble as it was powerful.
But the magic was really in the ritual itself, steeping the saffron until the water glowed like a sunset, gently warming the milk, and then bringing it all together. And the last step, probably the most important, was to just sit, turn everything else off, and slowly savor the drink. It was a moment of pure focus and intention.
Reza didn't need to understand the science behind his grandmother's remedy. He just knew it worked for him. But today, we can actually dig into the science, and it's pretty fascinating to see how it backs up what his grandmother knew all along.
So check this out. These two spices are a powerhouse team. Saffron doesn't just fight inflammation, it actually helps manage the way our brain perceives pain. And then you've got turmeric, which is this incredible natural anti-inflammatory that goes to work directly on the swelling in our joints. So it's like a two-pronged attack that deals with both the physical and the mental side of pain.
And this is where the genius of his grandmother's recipe really shines. The key compound in turmeric, curcumin, it needs fat to be absorbed properly by the body. So the milk in the drink, it acts as the perfect carrier, delivering that curcumin right where it's needed most. It's a perfect example of how these ancient traditions often have some really solid science behind them.
So after a few weeks, Reza started to feel this subtle shift. He was encouraged, right? So he tells his cousin back in Iran what he's been doing, and his cousin reveals this critical piece of the puzzle. He says, "You're only doing half the ritual."
His cousin explained that the golden drink worked its magic from the inside, but their grandmothers also treated their joints from the outside. He sent Reza a recipe for a simple Persian joint oil, a blend of the same golden spices, but this time infused in olive oil.
Okay, so now for the second part of the ritual. Every single morning, Reza would warm up this oil and massage it into his joints. It was a slow, deliberate process, a way of kind of waking up his body and getting it ready for the day.
And this is when the real transformation started. The daily ritual, the golden drink at night and the massage in the morning, it did more than just soothe his aching joints. It connected him to his past, to his grandmother,
to generations of wisdom that had been passed down right through his family.
And this is really the key takeaway here. The ritual gave him back a sense of control. He wasn't just a patient anymore, passively waiting for some pill to work. He was an active part of his own healing. And that made all the difference in the world.
Reza's story is just such a powerful reminder of the wisdom of the past. But before you think about trying this ritual for yourself, there are a few really important things you need to keep in mind.
Okay, listen up, because this is crucial. It's always a good idea to talk with your doctor before trying any new remedy, especially if you're taking medication. Turmeric can interact with certain drugs, and it's not recommended for people with gallbladder problems. Also, make sure you use high-quality saffron for the best results. And please remember, this ritual is a supportive practice. It is not a substitute for professional medical care.
Reza's story really reminds us that healing is about so much more than just fixing what's broken. It's about nurturing our bodies and giving them the support they need to start healing themselves.
This story is just a beautiful reminder that there's so much wisdom buried in the traditions of our ancestors. It really makes you want to look into your own family history, right? To see what forgotten remedies might just be waiting there to be rediscovered.